All right, welcome to How to Pose Your Action Figures by me, chefatron, and fxfranz, or fxfranz. Back when I was doing the fxfranz channel, and even up to now, doing the chefatron videos and reviews, when I started doing reviews, people have been asking me, subscribers have been asking, how do you do those poses, or can you do a tutorial? And quite honestly, I have no strict scientific way of doing it. It's more of an artist thing. It just comes to me. And my good buddy Christian was saying, you should do a tutorial video. And I said, how do I do? I mean, what's the first thing I say? And he says, he sort of gave me some ideas on what the curriculum should be, what the lessons should be. I mean, what should be done here and there. It's not yet finalized. We did it over lunch a couple months ago, and I've yet to talk to him again about this tutorial, but he's given me some great ideas on what to say, on what to do, on how to do a tutorial on how to pose your action figure. So I'm going to start the ball rolling with this first episode, and because it's the pilot, or the first of many tutorials, I hope, depending on you guys and your response, I will give 2 lessons for this first episode. So let's get it on. All right. Not a lot to look at, right? The first lesson I'm going to say is you have to know the character. You have to know the figure. So lesson number 1, know the character. When you get an action figure, it's so easy to just put them in whatever pose you want, but it helps if you do a little bit of research. For instance, the Superior Spider-Man or Doc Ock, as Peter Parker, he's very conniving. You can't just pose him doing a thwip. He's diabolical, and you have to pose him in like an evil Spider-Man look. Not necessarily too evil, because he's posing as Spider-Man, but you get the idea. He has to be like devious, like sly looking, like that, something like that. Yeah. And then you have to, apart from knowing the character, you have to know the limits of the figure. The figure should have the articulation you require, and of course some limitation. I mean, if you want a very articulated figure, you can go get the SH Figure Warts, you can get Revoltech, but me, I usually pose I just pose mostly Hasbro figures. You can have him crouched. There's a lot of things you can do this year, but if you know the character, you get a sort of an idea on how you want him to look like. Peter Parker, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. This is a nice pose. I mean, it's a nice, friendly pose, but normally Spider-Man, he's an insect. He's a spider, right? A man as a spider. He should be close to the ground. He should be clutching here and there, looking for walls to cling on, buildings to swing upon. So you gotta have him posed like he's ready to just jump out at you. So knowing the character gives you an idea on what to do with it. Put that there. I'll give I'll give several examples just to hammer down, or to get my point across. Wait. Tony Stark, Iron Man. Looks great. I mean, you can pose him this way, it's okay. He's about to do his unibeam, but he's Iron Man. He's not. This is a pose that's it's more suitable, I think, for Ultron. I mean, it's good for Iron Man, but yeah, maybe it's something for Ultron. For Iron Man, you gotta give him a heroic stance, like he's blasting the Mandarin or Thanos or whoever. And again, knowing the basics of your action figure, knowing where to put him, you gotta know how to pose him, like he's defending something, instead of just going at it. Okay, Spider Girls, Spider Women. I'll probably do another segment on how to pose male action figures versus female action figures. Spider-Gwen, she's very jumpy, she's very athletic. You can pose her this way. She's like a rock star. Silk, She's more, I don't know, I don't want to say diabolical, but she's more of enigmatic. So you can pose her in like a mysterious pose. Like you don't know what she's gonna do, but still like a spider, like Miles. See, the fluidity of your poses should reflect who the character is. And then Spider Biatch, Spider Woman, Spider Girl. I don't have an accessory for which she can crush people with or whatever, but she's still a female figure. I do like her in this pose, like a tough pose, but yet feminine. It's really up to you. But these are the best way to get a figure into a pose that you think might look good on your shelf is to know the character. Maybe just a couple more before we get it on. Yeah, just two more. Robots. No reason why you shouldn't pose robots. Megatron. He's always, hungry, power hungry. So you can't pose him in a heroic. You can pose him as a hero, but that wouldn't reflect who he is. He's always power hungry, so he's I want all the energon. The Autobots must be destroyed. Something like that. So yeah. Okay, and just last, maybe just to drive home the point. Okay, Iron Fist. Yeah, it's a cool pose. Yeah, he's a Iron Fist. But he's more of a Chinese martial arts expert. More of Kung Fu, more Bruce Lee. So I would pose him in more of a fighting stance. Like a Chinese stance where he can do chi. Because he talks about chi or energy. And I would do something like this. That would reflect more of his martial arts style. Instead of that one looks more like a daredevil or boxer type of martial arts of pose. So that's essentially lesson one. You have to know who the figure is, who the character is. And once you do, try to envision the character on how you think it's best to look for him based on what you know about the character. And just go crazy over it. I mean, there's no specific way, just because they pose Spider-Man this way, you've got to pose him this way. These are just hints. These are just tips for you to figure out. But lesson number one, know who the character is, and that'll guide you on how to pose him. Okay, let's get rid of these guys. Lesson number two, and this lesson seems to be very basic to me, but as my buddy Christian says, it's not basic for everybody. Get inspiration when you're posing your figures. And for me, there's a lot of ways to get inspiration. You can watch the movies, you can go on the internet, go a lot of multimedia. There's a lot of tools available. But for me, the best inspiration, I'm old school. I still go through the comic books. Up to now, I mean, a lot of people do the download thing. But for me, I love just picking up a comic book, smelling it, the paper. I mean, when I was a kid, it brings the smell of comic book. Right, even now when I open a fresh comic book, the smell is so nostalgic of when I was a kid and I was collecting comic books. And a lot of times it happens, when you smell an old fragrance or food, it brings you back to your childhood. So me, I'm old school. I still buy comic books to this day, just because I love reading through comic books and not just scrolling through your phone or whatever. And it's in the comic books I get a lot of inspiration for poses, like for robots. Look at that. You get comics that have great artwork. Look at that. Venom. Wolverine. The Silver Samurai. You get some inspiration from it. And for me, I think the best place to get is still the comic books. Jim Lee, I mean, he's my all-time favorite artist. He's the one who got me started into drawing comic book characters. I love the Jim Lee era of comic books. Silvestri, McFarlane, Liefeld, these were the greats back then. If you don't know who they are, good for you. You're much too young. If you know who they are, then you're probably my age. And I love them. I mean, now he's gone off to Jim Lee's gone off to DC. DC Comics. He's the publisher. He's promoted, I suppose, but traitor. No, I'm kidding. So get inspiration from comic books or whatever, cartoons or whatnot, and it'll inspire your poses. For instance, again, let's go back to Marvel, since I'm a Marvel guy. I'm not really sure about. I don't read a lot of DC comics. So I'm afraid I don't have DC toys to pose. Captain America, the Shield of Liberty. Yeah, okay, this will look good on the shelf. He's okay, but sometimes you want to get him dynamic poses. Like in the comic book, he's always blasting from Baron Zemo or Red Skull. Get him in that pose. He's a super soldier. He's running and then stopping and then shielding, defending somebody. That's great. Sam Wilson, he's the he used to be the Falcon. I like to pose him, and he's used to flying, so you can give him running poses, or he's about to leap, or he just landed from a tall building, from flying, I suppose. So there's many ways to pose Captain America. I'm not saying this is the wrong way to do it, but if you want to breathe life into it, and watch out for the comic books, how the artists draw these guys. Windblade. We'll talk about Windblade later. Okay, we'll talk about her now. There are some limitations to each figure. Articulation will play a part, but you can still bring out the essence of the figure. So you read the comic books, Windblade is like a samurai ninja. She's not an assassin, but she's like a fembot that kicks ass. So you can get her in really, really cool poses if you want to. Just try to explore where the figure will take you based on what you see, what inspires you in the comic books. The Mad Titan Thanos, or anybody that's power hungry or projects energy or just craves energy or power, you can get him here. Sure, that's great. Look okay on the shelf. But what Stan Lee says when he teaches, or Kirby, or one of the old comic book artists, you have to exaggerate. So try to exaggerate the poses. So power hungry, something like Ultron, what Ultron might do, exaggerate it. You see? See, this one's okay, but you give it a little bit more flair and exaggeration, you can give him in that pose. And yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. That's a great way to project this villain. Or he's hurt. Rogers, Tony Stark. So some degree of exaggeration. Okay. Last couple of figures. There is also, too much exaggeration. Sure, you can pose Agent 13 or Sharon Carter this way. Yeah, but it's a little bit too much. I mean, yeah, exaggerated pose. It looks okay, but it's a little bit over the top for me. So you have to set limits. I mean, as well for yourself, or there's a line between too much posing and just enough. I don't know how to say. So we'll get rid of that. For instance, Daredevil. Find out who he is. I mean, if you don't know who he is, I mean, he's Matt Murdock. He's blind, but he can echolocate. He's great at martial arts. He's the defender of Hell's Kitchen, usually at night. So he's just there. He's just standing. He's just waiting for the opponent. And even if you don't exaggerate too much, it still makes the figure evoke something. Optimus Prime, leader of the Autobots. You have to get him in this brave, this heroic pose. Autobots, transform and roll out. That's great, but again, exaggerate. Comic book style. Check out the comic books. How do they do it? There's no reason why you couldn't pose him in a very dynamic pose, like Bumblebee to the flank, defend. I mean, he's giving out orders. He's about to slice and dice Megatron and any of the Decepticons. You can get him in. There's no reason why you shouldn't get him in poses like this. Okay. So that last thing I want to say before I wrap up, Darth Vader. I mean, this is the most common pose for him. He's like about to, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you have trained Luke Skywalker. Luke, come with me, and he's always very ominous, imposing, and whatnot. And yeah, this is not bad. I mean, this is how he's usually posed, or with the force, or he's doing the force, choking. He's choking or whatever. Yeah, okay, that's not bad. That's not bad actually. This will look good on the shelf. But again, comic books. You read the comic book. Oh, the Star Wars, Marvel Star Wars comic books now are just amazing. And again, you read it, you try to exaggerate, you try to do how the artists do it. Envision Darth Vader, how you wish to see him. There's no reason why you can't pose him this way. So both are okay. This one's okay, but this one speaks volumes of the Sith Lord. And man, look at that. He's using the Force and he's about to slice and dice you. Evil. All right, so just to wrap up this episode, 2 lessons. Know the character. Find out who he is. Do some research. It's easy. Google. You can read books, multimedia, comic books. Find out who the character is. And then try to get inspiration, either from the cartoons. I personally prefer comic books. You can go watch movies, Netflix, download anything you want to do. Go ask other people how they do it. Find your inspiration on how the figure should look like for me. And for me, comic books are like the best. I'm old school. So with that, you try and figure out, like Darth Maul. Let's see. He's very mean. He's a Sith apprentice, and he's just out to get Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. So he's a martial arts expert, so he's got to be low on the ground. He's not like Darth Vader, who's very imposing, and he's going to use a sword. This guy is calculating. He's scheming on how to get to Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. So yeah, you can get him in various poses. Like Ray Park was a fantastic martial artist, so you can get him certain poses just to make him look good. So know the character, get inspiration, maybe from comic books, and you're all set. Just with these 2 tips on how to pose action figures, you're well on your way to posing greatness. I can't believe I'm just saying that. But there's no strict way to do this. They're your toys. Have fun with it. I'm here only to give advice on how to do it, but it's up to you. You just have fun and put your figures in how you see them. There's really no correct way, scientific way to do it. Just have fun. And again, those 2 tips will get you a long way. Know the character and get inspiration from media for comic books. There you go, folks. If you have any suggestions on what you want to see in the next episode of how to pose your action figures, go type them down in the comment section below. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody who's helped out, who's given me advice on that I should do this tutorial. I can't remember everybody, but if you're one of those who gave me this advice that I should do a tutorial, go say it in the comment section below. And thanks you guys. And again, once again, thanks to my good buddy Christian for giving me the inspiration and helping out with the curriculum for this tutorial. So until the next tutorial video, how to pose your action figures, keep posing them. Thanks for watching.